What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Tomorrow War video. This movie has three things that is a guaranteed watch for me: a great cast, time travel, and aliens. Now, while the movie is by no means an instant classic and it fumbles in the middle and has a lot of plot holes, it's nowhere near as bad as it has been reviewed and seemingly getting the same level of hate as Skyline or Battle for Los Angeles. It's a unique movie with a really interesting premise of recruiting people from the past to fight in the future, and for some reason it really did give me the live, die, repeat vibes. It doesn't do enough with that and twists once more towards the origins of the aliens, but the chemistry of Chris Pratt with the cast is second to none, with J.K. Simmons once again understanding the assignment. I'm also happy to see anything with Sam Richardson, who is due a big break any time now after his great tenure on Veep. We follow the life of Dan, an army vet who did 2 tours of Iraq and is also a teacher trying to get more of a better job as he heads home for a party as everyone's watching the Qatar World Cup in 2022. It was very weird seeing that, especially in an American movie, and it will be even weirder watching a World Cup in the winter. However, during the match, just as Brazil are about to go on the break, well, people arrive from 30 years in the future. They state how in 11 months there will be an attack by some aliens, and by 30 years' time there will only be like 500,000 people left alive due to the aliens known as the White Spikes wiping out humanity. Humans are recruited to go through, and at first only 50% of the military are eligible to jump. From what I gathered, to be eligible to jump you have to be dead before the jump, or you have to not have had any grandkids who would still be alive there in the time you're going to. Only 20% of the humans survive, meaning a global draft is put together as humans are sent off as cannon fodder to fight the White Spikes. Now, in secret, the whole reason for this was to buy time to actually make the toxin in the movie. It's a war which seems unwinnable, with barely any people surviving their tour of, 7 days, which doesn't seem like a lot to me, but it's due to the Sabbath, where the White Spikes hide after a certain amount of days. But if you die, your family get $1 million, but they'll be arrested if you skip your deployment. It's a really cool concept, and one I wish was explored a bit more by a cerebral filmmaker, like the director of Blade Runner 2049, who I can't pronounce his name, and Christopher Nolan. Dan is a family man, but gets recruited while teaching a class. And I found it funny we had a callback to the kid who is obsessed with volcanoes at the end of the movie, who managed to solve the whole mystery of where the White Spikes came, and again gave me evolution vibes for some reason. The world is also jaded as they see their future projections each day. Now, Dan's wife wants him to run as he's recruited, as she worked for the VA and sees the future soldiers, and he heads to his estranged dad, J.K. Simmons, who is superb, but they argue, and I thought it was dumb how Dan was like, I hate you, you left me, so I'm going to go to the future and fight, despite me having an out. He reports for basic training, which is very lucky that he was a soldier, because basic training is pretty much useless, as he's grouped up with a ragtag group of average Joes, and also Dorian, who is dying of cancer but has made multiple jumps to the future, like some kind of, real soldier, dogged of war, grizzled veteran. They are classed as heroes by the government, and we learn, they didn't have much choice. We learned that people had family going to other jumps and never return. I like how their transport wrist device would bring them out of any situation, which is pretty much like, we know what's going to happen here, and it did. He was about to die, and then he jumped out. Now, it's interesting that, we learn how time travel actually works here. They can't go to the start of the war or really anywhere else. The beacon has been set up in the future on the Deep Swell base that allows fixed point travel. They can go from A to B, but the time window moves as time progresses, so they really are on borrowed time. The White Spikes go into hiding every 7 days, and little is known about them, and they're clearly similar to the aliens in The Quiet Place, taking over the world with almost no warning at all. Now, Dan and the vet and a few others are assigned to the research division. Now, as they jump, it all goes wrong, leaving people just to fall to their death, which was incredibly dark. Now, I feel like the future part is just a complete misstep with a myriad of things they could have done, like a sort of Saving Private Ryan, and have the whole movie set in the future there. But they land and, well, they're contacted by Dan's daughter from the future, but he doesn't know their connection just yet. The area they're in is about to be carpet bombed, and they jump blind, which makes me think, like, can't they just leave instructions in the past, like Tenet did with the buried stuff of what's going on, and yeah, don't go here at this date and the time. It's weird. But anyway, they need to get to the research facility, which is obviously to do with the toxin, but carnage happens here as they're attacked by the white spikes, who are impossible to kill unless they get hit with a slug on the underside. The aliens are mainly kind of male with a female sort of queen, and spikes come out of their gross ass tentacles with impervious shell armor. They came from space as a presumed bioweapon stored on a crashed ship that was here forever, for quite a long time there, and it was only sort of thawed out because of environmental collapse. And they eat humans and are just relentless in their pursuit of survival. The escape, well, they escape, but it gets worse when the extraction team are killed, and they run through a tunnel on the top, but one falls and sacrifices himself as they try to save. Most would have survived that, but, well, Dan would later learn that when they wake up, it's just him, Charlie, and Dorian who are at a base in the Dominican Republic. It would be here that he would realise his commander is his daughter, Murray, who is played by the same actress as Serena in The Handmaid's Tale, Sarah in Chuck, and of course Miranda in Mass Effect. Now the other two, we don't really see what they did. We know that one of them, the kind of guy who was a bit of a coward or kind of an average Joe, just hid, which, to be honest, that's what I would do. Now, she brought him here for a specific mission he would later learn is to take the toxin they would make to kill all of the spikes, including the female, to the future so they can mass produce it and have it ready for when they're attacked. It was all just a time-saving exercise. It turns out that, well, in her timeline, that he would end up like his dad and kind of leave the family, but he would later die in a car crash in her timeline. And when he returned with the toxin, it essentially created a brand new timeline. It makes a paradox as him going back and undoing the war meant that he and the others were never sent there. And the people who fought would never die. It's a really big plot hole, which is a bit stupid. But the movie doesn't dwell on it. So you're just meant to go, oh yeah, I get it. But we've had a lot of time travel in kind of the media at the moment, so especially with Dark doing it almost perfectly and the MCU going absolute ham with that as well. However, they need to get to the female, which they do, and after a tussle, she's taken back to the human last stand base of Deepswell, where the toxin can be sequenced to affect the female as well. It just seems like an absolute disaster waiting to happen as they wait for it to be sequenced. They've not managed to subdue the female enough, as conveniently Dan's tour of duty is just about to end after they are attacked. The female has woken up and is fuming as the simps come to save her, and Dan and Murray escape with the toxin. And it's similar to the first mission where he jumps down to save her. He saves his daughter, but it's futile as he jumps back now. But there's one problem. No one knows the origin, but luckily they actually have some DNA and some kind of sciencey stuff, and they work out that there's volcanic ash on them, which means that they would have been underground for many years. So they go to not a specialist, but to a kid in his class who knows a lot about volcanoes and is like, yeah, it's there. Okay, well, just, okay, whatever. But they have to go on a disavowed mission as the Defense Department refused to help. So they head there to the underground and work out that this is basically a xenomorph situation where they've been left there on a crashed ship, and it looks like that it was a different race who brought them to Earth in a mistake. So it's a very weird one there, but they managed to get the toxin in and kill as many of them as possible, which leads to a tussle with, yes, the female, which is a very interesting fight, and the day is saved. There's no watching of his daughter die, and, well, the whole origin of this is done. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I just think there should have been a bit more oversight on the script, as usually I don't mind some plot holes if the rest of the movie is, just as good. However, with this, it was very much like, what? I couldn't get my mind off of that. But overall, it was enjoyable. Probably like a good 5 out of 10, I would say, for it. I wouldn't say it was terrible, but the plot holes just did it for me. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Please do drop a like. Please do subscribe with notifications on. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.